listening to Live on Four Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience, featuring
Mr. Sobelgasm. Fucking camera in the truck. Mr. Boomgasper! You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
In 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Live on Four Legs podcast, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience. And we're back with our 41st episode of all time. It's a record, you guys. 41. Can you believe it? Woo! And today we have a very special guest on today. Our co-host. You've never heard his name before. He's never been on this show before. We don't know where he came from. We don't know where he's been. But he's here right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Matt Helbig.
I'm back.
Oh, my God. Where have you been all this time?
You know, I don't even know. If you asked me what I did 2 days ago, I could honestly say I don't remember because all my days are getting mixed up now, and it's a giant mess. I'm really sunburned. My hair's turning blonde. And
oh God, you're not going through that phase again, are you?
I am, and I've been playing so much bass that my fingers hurt. So I know I've been active.
It's all becoming a blur.
It's all a blur. Can't give you any details.
The summer is almost over in your mind. I mean, it's barely started, but you'll by the time September comes around, you'll be like, "Where the fuck did it go?"
Let me tell you this: I am completely over the summer. Bring on October. I'm ready for it.
So I know I've been teasing a little bit the last couple episodes that changes and things and transformation with the podcast are coming. So why don't we just get this out of the way early, Matt? Go ahead.
Well, unfortunately, with my schedule, I could say I've been lucky enough to be busy and working hard, and doing my thing with the music, and lucky enough to have a lot of cool new opportunities pop up with the music, which is always good for someone who makes their living on plugging away at whatever gig that they could get. So, I'm going to have to take a small leave of absence because of my schedule, but I am going to contribute any way I can whenever I have free time to do it. So it's what did you say, Randy? What did you call it before?
I said it's not goodbye, it's just see you later.
It's see you later. Yeah, I will definitely see you later. It's just every free day I had has been taken up now by work or by gigs or working at gigs or something, unfortunately. So the last thing I wanted to do was try to rush through stuff like this because I think we pride ourselves on really taking our time and making it as good as we can.
Mm-hmm.
So rushing it and degrading the quality was absolutely not an option for me. I would rather see some really qualified and popular guests that we've had come in and take my spot and rotate around for a little bit while I can't be here, because the guests have been tremendous. There's no other word for it. We've been so lucky with who we've had.
We really have. Absolutely. And with that, I have no doubt that we're going to have no problem finding a good co-host during this time to fill your massive shoes, as you've been just such an enormous contributor to the show in more ways than you guys even know.
The critical contributor, right?
Well, like now that you've been kind of off the last couple episodes, I've kind of noticed the loss. I'm like, where is this? Where is, and that's not going against anybody that has been on the last couple weeks, but like I missed it. I missed it. It's like some sort of Stockholm syndrome or something like that.
That's good. I like that. Well, it was nice to sit back too and edit and then fill in at the end of Eddie's episode, because I really didn't know, like, my first listen how to feel about the show, and then something came up. I wasn't able to do the show, so just for fun, I listened to the performance again, and then I was editing the podcast while I had some free time. And Eddie, I want to give you a shout out. Terrific job. Randy and I were just talking about you before we record. Fantastic episode, and you were a natural. But he changed my mind and cleared up a lot of stuff hearing his take on the show. And I listened to it again. I listened to that second time, and he was right, man. I think I was maybe listening too hard to it, and he changed my mind about a lot of stuff, and I ended up really liking that show. So it actually it helped me a little bit to sit back and just be a listener, because
sure
I got a whole other take other than just my opinion. I was able to kind of hear a different side of it instead of just what I consider to be a good performance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
because it's tough to break your own opinion. So you listen to somebody else's opinion, you say, "Oh, that's a really good point. Let me listen to this daughter one more time. I hated it the first time, but now I see where he's coming from." And I'm sure Daughter was great. If it was even played, I can't remember. But that was just a standard example.
I just want to bring up really for a second. I just, with all the stuff that Matt was doing, I've only been on the editing job. This episode will be only my third that I'm editing. So think about that for 38 weeks in a row. Matt not only doing his day job, but doing the gigs and everything. And I know December and January is a little, it's a little softer and it's a little lighter, and he can balance it a little
Oh,
bit
man,
more.
I looked forward to the editing on those. I was so bored. As a musician that does primarily weddings, and then I, with the day job in an off season.
The days where we recorded at 1 in the afternoon.
1 in the afternoon. Oh yeah, there'd be a good month and a half where I was just unemployed, and I would think it would be fantastic. Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is great. I could have like a month off. I could work on my music. I could do the podcast, yada yada, and I'd be like craving an edit, because it backfires on you. You get so bored, and you look for anything to fill the time, and now of course I'm back to where it all comes back around.
Train.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where now I'm like, I wish I had a day off, but I don't. And then come December, I'm going to be like, I need June again. So it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. Well, people, if you didn't know how hard Matt worked on the show and how much that he did, Matt, you deserve all the credit in the world for helping us get started here. This was an idea that kind of formed into something much bigger, something much more defined as we went along, and really, we would. I don't think sitting here less than a year ago we would have, or more than a year ago, less than a year ago, we would have thought, look at how many people are listening to the show, look at people that are commenting on our social media pages, and it's just kind of awesome that all of this has happened. And sometimes, you get to say you do stuff, and I've done stuff. I've done big things before, working for a big television company. I've done big things, but it's one thing to say that you're doing big things, and then it's another thing to say that you're doing something big with your best friend since you were in first grade. And that to me was so important, and that we did the show together, that we had that natural chemistry that the two of us have had for 25 years, whatever it's been. So, all I got to say from this point forward is let's just make it one more good one, and then the next time we get you on the show, we'll pick up where we left off.
Yeah, definitely. And that, it is a lot of work, and we both would spend a lot of time with prepping and putting it together and social media, whatever. But yeah,
by listening that this is not a show that you can wake up and do. Not at all.
Right. There's a lot that goes into it, and yeah, most of it's fun. We get to listen to live shows all the time, but it's the edit process is long, the recording process is long, the research process is long, but it makes it all worth it when you have a lot in common with somebody, and you've known someone for so long, and then you get to meet all these other people that have this love of music, and you could communicate with people all over the country, all over the world. We got Aurelian, got to give him a shout out.
Absolutely.
If you told me that we'd become very good friends with somebody over there, over in
who's making us stickers and handing them out at Eddie Vedder solo shows, that's incredible.
Stuff like that makes all the hard work worth it. So. Yeah, it's great. And again, it's definitely not goodbye, for sure.
Yeah, no way. I would not let you off the hook that easily.
Oh no, I don't. You know me. Even taking a step back is it was for the last week was very weird for me, because it was it's like when you cut an arm off, you kind of still feel it.
Yeah.
I have both my arms. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that.
I don't think you'd be making much money playing bass on a wedding band if you only had one arm. And if you did,
great point.
Kind of be incredible. I think they should do more news stories on you.
I would probably have some kind of TLC show or something if that was the case.
Exactly.
I definitely missed it. So I can't just step away. That's not my nature. I'm not a quitter.
Plus, we're 41 episodes in. We haven't even covered the one song that you've been begging to cover this whole entire time.
Oh, maybe it's like a bad relationship. I just need to take a break from the, from. It's just it's so close to my grasp, but maybe I just need to let it go, and if it's meant to be, it'll come back.
All right, why don't we get into the episode now? I think we've
Randy, we were at this show.
You damn right we were. I don't know how much you remember, but I remember a whole hell of a lot from this one. I remember the entire thing. Yeah,
the whole thing.
Visually, I went back and I watched. I didn't just listen to the bootleg. I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, so did I. Was weird because it was the opposite side that we sat on.
Yeah, so almost in the same position too.
Exactly the same. So that was kind of weird, because I have such good memories from watching the show,
being on Stone's
and then
side.
seeing it on Mike's side was like, wait a minute, maybe I wasn't at this show. This looks really weird. Because the memory you have, it's almost like you watch it on YouTube, and it's almost like your memory that is right is wrong because you're seeing it from a different angle. But all the songs, we've been listening to the bootleg for so many years. We were just talking about that. All of a sudden, all your memories are wrong.
It's a director's cut of your memory.
That's right. Yeah. You get to know these live versions of these songs from this show specifically, that you hear it with a total opposite view, and it was strange, man. It definitely threw me for a loop.
Yeah, this was. If you're on our social media pages, if you're not, follow us at Live on Four Legs Podcast on Instagram and the Facebook over there. But we had the anniversary of it this past Tuesday, and I didn't shut up. I posted my ticket stub. I posted my poster, and I was just like, if I can relive this, and if I can do this again, I would do it the same way in a heartbeat. Everybody has gotten the gist that listens, and this is my first ever show, and we've been really building to this moment, probably from the day that we started doing the Boston episodes. So, I guess I should go over kind of like expectations that I had for the show, since it being my first show. You got everything going for you. It's not like, you can. I think I just wanted the full Pearl Jam experience. I wanted the good stuff, the hits, but I wanted a lot of the rare. I wanted something rare. I wanted to come out of this saying that I got something that maybe the last guy that just went to a show from the night before didn't get. That's a little rarer than that guy. I kind of wanted something to hang my hat on for for the first night.
And that guy that you're talking about was sitting right next to you.
Well, that wasn't your first time, though. I'm saying for somebody that made a debut.
I thought you meant who had gone the night before. I thought you were just comparing.
No, who had made a debut for the night before and didn't go to night
gotcha,
two.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Which I think this show is infinitely better than night one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I kept the whole time. I kept trying to leave bias out of it, but the way that the set list problems that we had in the night one episode are miraculously fixed. It's like they looked back and said, you know what, some of this stuff really didn't work. So tomorrow when we do this, we're going to do this, this, and this, and that's going to work. And
definitely.
By golly, it frickin' did. I think I had like 3 must-have songs. I know I mentioned this on the show before. Rearview Mirror was one that it was my absolute number one song at the time. I had to have it. Given to Fly, had to have it. And Black, those were the 3 that were like, come on, let's get them in the first shot. And 2 out of the 3 is really good. But I'm just I wanted to go through the mindset in my mind at the time, because I wasn't asking for shit like All Night. I wasn't expecting shit like Rats or Garden, stuff that doesn't get played a whole hell of a lot. And all of it came as the most pleasant surprise that I could have asked for. It really, for a first show, there's not. I know we talked that show, that Tampa show that you mentioned before with Eddie. That was a really, really good first show set list, because you got everything from all platforms. You have great covers, you have the hits, you have rare stuff that you're not going to get at every show. And I feel like this is really close to that. And if we were making a set list from scratch, that was like your debut show, it would be pretty close to one of these 2 shows.
Yeah, I could agree to that.
So, this is I was going through a lot of different emotions when listening back to this. I for a while before I went and decided that I needed to do a podcast about live Pearl Jam shows. I had 1 or 2 bootlegs from the couple of shows that I had been to, and this was one. I listened to this over and over and over again. This is when they weren't offering just digital downloads; they were offering the CD hardcover download. So not download, CD download. But I bought the CD. I had it in my car for ages, and that's how I listened to it. And I must. You said you listened to this 1,000 times. I must have listened to it 1,000 times too. And just going back on it, the emotions kind of went through my head. I'm trying to go back and think of how I was thinking and feeling, and whether or not, and it wasn't. I knew at that point. I knew that I was going to be a Pearl Jam lifer at that point. There was no other way around it. I had this connection with the band that I couldn't really explain, but it was something in their music just made me just, it made me feel empowered. It made me feel enraged. It made me feel excited. And I knew that they didn't have to show me, they didn't really have to do anything, except play. And I was in. I just was expecting that moment of the start to my, real fandom to start that night. And I wanted to see how it all went down. And when they started the show, you have that really eerie, the Metamorphosis 2 opener, which, sometimes we don't talk about the songs they play over the PA before the band comes on. And it's kind of important when you think about it, because it's, it's the house lights go down and, you see a couple lights on stage, and it's really what gets you excited before the first chord actually hits. And Metamorphosis 2 is just so eerie. And then when it gets into that, that part where the band comes on at that, hard piano part, it just gets you really freaking pumped and excited. I kind of remember all that, and I just remember that, that point, just my blood boiling to a point where I was just I'm about to witness one of the best moments in my life. I am not married yet. I'll be married in less than 3 months. So, ask me then and I might change my mind. But, up until this point, I didn't win a lot of, I wasn't on a lot of sports teams growing up that won a lot of things. And, there wasn't too much that I had achieved, but this felt really, really special once they went into the first riff of Release.
I see the world beyond the chill. Which way to go? Beyond the still. I see the world on a rocket horse of time. I see the words in the rain. Can you see me now? I am myself, like you somehow. I'll ride away where it takes me. God, oh,
So, man, I just thinking about this is puts me at a little bit of a loss for words, because you just kind of, you don't get this moment back. Watching it on the video on YouTube doesn't get you the moment back. You only live one moment. And I think I remember in that moment saying, remember every single little bit about this, because you're never going to get this back. No matter how many shows you go to. And at the time, if I would have told myself in 11 years you'd been to 20 shows, I'd be like, well, that's pretty good. All right, that's not too bad. But, you know, I had a life to fulfill. But I knew at that point that this was the start of this unbelievable journey, and not only that, but this release like sucked you into a trance. I don't know if you remember, but the way that the lights were going, and the lights were kind of in a wave, and it made and it wasn't GA, it just the seats down at the floor. It made it look like everybody was swaying in a wave, and once Eddie got into the lyrics, and once, you know, he really dug into the high parts of the song, everybody he had the crowd in his hands eating it up that night. I had never seen anybody else do that ever at a concert. I had seen what felt like everybody at the time. I had never, on the first song, a song like Release that is, you know, so powerful lyrically and raises so many different emotions. That's what makes them special, is that they can do this, and they can lift you in such a way that you would have no idea where to go from there, especially the first time. Because I think if I had my guess at the time, and thinking back, I probably thought they were going to open with Life Wasted, because that's just what bands did. They open with the first song off their last album, or their most energetic new song. And getting Release absolutely blew my mind and changed the game for me. What I thought was going to be a lifelong relationship with this band was like the happiest of band to fan marriages that I could have expected. No better than that.
Yeah, I think saying that no other band could do that with a lead-off song like Pearl Jam does, I think that is incredibly subjective, because you know me, I do not at all have the kind of feeling you do about Release as an
I know
opener.
you don't. Yeah, I know you don't.
So yeah, I mean, if this is what you're looking for as an opener, and they do it, and it's your first time, 100%, it's gonna be insane. But you know, I think what you want as someone that loves music, I think you want that to grab you no matter who you're seeing. For an example, I saw, I don't know if you know the band Fleet Foxes, but their drummer, his name is Josh Tillman. He goes by Father John Misty. He does his solo stuff. He's just probably the best singer-songwriter out there today, in my opinion. Just he's absolute top-notch. I saw him in Brooklyn last week, and he's been switching around some songs, but it's a pretty standard set. He opened up with a song that I pretty much knew he was going to open up with, but hearing him sing this song, even though I knew it was pretty typical, hearing him sing it live was like, it's like an angel comes down and just like gently cradles your penis in its hands, and it just, you can't move because he's just it gives you that feeling, and that's the feeling that you got, you know. So what my point is that you want that, I think you want that to happen no matter where you go.
My penis was definitely cradled at that night.
Oh, 100%. I remember I saw you.
Yeah. And so did the person next to me.
The whole point of being like a music addict and going to shows, no matter who it is that there's got to be that moment where it's like, wow, this is why I love music. This is why I go to these shows. And it's fantastic when it creates like a lifelong bond between you and especially one specific band. So that's a great thing, especially when it's your first show. I'm not really a huge Release fan, but I mean, when you have this kind of connection with it, then A+ winner for sure. But that aside, performance was spectacular.
I mean, totally biased, but modern day, 2000 era Release, I've heard, I don't know, a few dozen versions of it.
Yep.
I obviously have much more emotional connection, but the way that they play it, the way that he sings it, he hits everything perfectly. There's no hesitation anywhere. It has the hum in the background that I love, that kind of makes it feel like a full arena song, that just makes it feel more special as an opener. I don't think that I can think of a better version from this modern day era. I can't think of one. This was played,
I can agree to that.
To me, pretty much to perfection.
One of the only critiques that I have about this whole show, and I want to get it out of the way now because I think it kind of starts in the next song, is that I don't really think it is a terrific Eddie show. I think Eddie's pretty okay for the most part. It's not the best we've seen him, though, but this leadoff song is 100% on point.
I wasn't dissecting the music as much as I was dissecting my feelings towards it and towards listening back to it, back on it for all these years. That's more of what I'm talking about in the show is going to be from my memory and from just my sheer joy that I was having my moments during the show. Let's kind of, because as the more and more we get into this, the more conversations are going to build up because we just have so much shit from these shows. All right, Worldwide Suicide is number 2, and after that, all that emotion from Release, it's just like, wow, where the hell do you go from there? Like, that could end show and I'll be fucking thrilled almost. But you're getting Worldwide Suicide, which was in my rotation heavily at the time because it was one of my favorite off of Avocado, and it just it capitalized off of everything that Release was doing, and it took you from emotionally singing with every lyric to every chorus with Ed, and just kind of jumping up and down and able to really start rocking out, and it was a good vibe to get you into the set and get you hooked really early on.
And like I said, I don't think this is great vocally, but I mean, there's no build-up here. It is Release right into Worldwide Suicide, which Release goes pretty wild at the end there, and Worldwide Suicide is a straight rock song on Eddie's voice, so I could give him the pass for really just, jumping right into the deep end basically here. There's no speed up. They're just 0 to 60.
Yeah, it really, that was the most shocking thing, was that it almost had to be that, but how could it be that? How can you make this possible? I'm waiting for your next move and you bust it out and you it's still unexpectedly good. I just didn't, I don't think I comprehended that was possible. These things, and we together had gone to billions of shows at the time, and I don't know, it was just a different dynamic that I had never seen live before, and it was just exciting to be along for the ride.
You know what it is, man? It's an MSG night too.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
it's an MSG night too. And as we've talked about 3 times already, 2.5 technically, since we're only 2 songs into this one. But yeah, MSG Night 2s are pretty good if you've been following along on our MSG series. All right, Severed Hand came after Worldwide Suicide, and it was such a high from Worldwide Suicide. I actually remembered this moment where I was just kind of like sort of adjusting myself or whatever, and I kind of wasn't getting into the claps in the beginning of Severed Hand, and I remember you leaning into my ear, and I guess it was just because the beginning was unfamiliar because it's the live beginning that and they don't do that on the album, so I was used to kind of that other intro in the album, and I remember you leaning into my ear and saying, "This is Severed Hand," and kind of me having that, "Oh, okay," kind of moment, and then getting into the song, and I don't think this was like near the top of my list at the time. I was absolutely happy to have it. I recognized it, from the Wedding Band. Ha ha ha. But
zing.
Yeah, but I think I definitely appreciated this more after I listened to this bootleg. A lot of what I got from afterwards is more important because there are songs in this that I wouldn't have listened to a whole hell of a lot if they weren't on this show. So it's there, and Severed Hand was probably one of them at the time.
Yeah, you know how I feel about these. 2 avocado songs in a row. Can't go wrong. That's a total hit. It sounded great. And what I really liked is that intro. I don't remember which one we had covered, but we were saying during the recording that we thought that intro sounded weird, not in a bad way, but there was something about it. And I had listened to it a few times after we recorded. I went back, listened to it, and I realized that no one was playing. They actually used the track for that intro.
That was Grand Rapids.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's okay. That's interesting. This one is really special because it is. I mean, Mike plays it in like perfect tempo. Like it almost sounds like the track, but he is 100% playing this live, and it sounds amazing.
Yeah, no, this was great. I had absolutely all enjoyment just getting in this part of the set. I think it's another, you're sort of still coming off of that early stuff, and it needed to be a little light, the first couple. It needed to be fun, and really the killer finish to the song was the best, and it had that seamless transition where you get that little pluck into corduroy, and that's where, I think we've said this on the show so many times that corduroy is the moment where you recognize that you're at a Pearl Jam show. I think I had that moment with Release, but corduroy was just a reminder of how incredibly special it was to see this band in a place like Madison Square Garden play this song that is so enormous in just impact when you hear it live, that it's got so many parts to sing to jump around and dance to, that everybody else in the audience was, basically, because the only show that I had to go off of seeing was the Live at the Garden DVD. So, seeing other people react to corduroy the same way that I would react to it in my bedroom, just playing it on Vitalogy was just kind of, it was intense. It was cool. It felt like I was a part of some kind of like nifty cult that didn't kill people, or a lot of people, I should say.
Hold on, I gotta
just a cult that cradled penises.
Yeah.
Still can't get over that line.
Yeah, it's an angel, Randy. It's okay.
Oh, an angel can do it, and it won't be sketchy.
So, Yeah, I think this is great placement for Corduroy. This is normally where it is, and or maybe one song later. But my big problem with it is sometimes what comes before it doesn't feature it well enough. And I think you're right. I think this is a great, fun, poppy, happy to be here type intro to a set. My thought was they do the quick transition right here. It's right into it. But Eddie's vocals aren't great. It's really sloppy. It's really shaky. And it's almost like maybe he needed just a little bit of like let Mike take a little bit of a chug part there, kind of thing. I'm sure he wasn't thinking of this at the time because I'm sure he felt great. He's killing it set-wise at MSG Night 2. But he's a little shaky. He's not my favorite part of the show. So what I was thinking of was the Let's Play 2. It's got a lot of like the call and repeat there. Yeah. Hey, which that I don't like that. That gets a little old, but I do like how they start off that longer corduroy bridge before the Everything Has Changed parts. Yep. And the Everything Has Changed part in the Let's Play 2 vocally is it's like a masterpiece. The way he sings it. It is so good. I want like this corduroy and that corduroy to have a baby, and for the that's what I there's like a middle ground there to where you could stretch it out, have some crowd participation, and then come in really strong vocally.
The other small thing about corduroy here is just like feeling the pulse of the crowd when he says kind of at the ending, the finishing point where they're just about to go wild into the end. Ed is saying, "Can you feel it out there? Can you feel it? Can you feel it?" And like that to me, this is right before Ed's about to really speak for the first time tonight, and it feels like he's into this one. It feels like he's digging the crowd, and already there's a really good vibe going on in that building.
There are like 3 things in the show that I hear in like studio recording versions because I've heard this bootleg so many times.
Yeah.
And that's one of them.
Yep.
When I listen to if I hear the recording of this song, I feel like I could hear that part come up. That and Mike's famous quote that we love to talk about.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll spend a couple minutes on that. But before we get to that, that'll be in a little bit. Ed says, "Good evening and cheers to another garden party tonight. We've been blessed this last tour, and people haven't been saying." And Ed is kind of, it's difficult. The words coming out of his mouth are difficult words. They aren't necessarily sentence-wise. They are kind of broken up as he thinks, and he's trying to say it right. And it's complicated what he's saying. So I hope that was the way that I broke that sentence. That was kind of how my explanation for that was supposed to be. But anyway, that's he's saying.
I got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
He's saying.
I saw what you were doing.
People haven't been going to the shows saying, "Show us what you got," but it's like them telling us that we're going to show you what we got, and that gets the crowd a little bit of a roar. And he said, "Last night was good, but we're ready to up the stakes. There's so much diversity in New York City, and we have guests to take the stage to exemplify that." I know that we talked about them in the last one that we did in the Night 1 episode. The same 3 singers take the stage for the same 3 songs in this show. We'll try to keep those songs a little brief, but that's, again, what happens. But he also mentions here that they're pushing curfew. And at the time, I'm like, wait a minute. A band gets to play past the time they're supposed to? What is it? How does that work?
It almost makes every band we ever saw look like sticks in the mud.
Pedestrian, yeah.
Yeah.
Really pedestrian. I went for years almost not seeing anybody else but Pearl Jam because I didn't think anybody else would even come close. And now
Meanwhile, at the same time, maybe it's just that other bands aren't like yeah, I don't think we want to spend 20 grand extra to play a few
Exactly.
more songs, which is also reasonable.
I can understand that being an adult who pays for things now. I can understand how other
Right,
people may not
exactly.
want to pay a lot of money for something. So,
Right.
but when I'm 21 and people are like doing things to entertain me, I like you're telling me we're gonna fucking pay $20,000 to play an extra 25 minutes. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's awesome, that's great, and of course this is gonna be my favorite band ever. Not just now, but it reassured me that this was my favorite band. So Ed says they get to play all night, so they'll play the song all night. And it's a repeat from night one, but the one thing I do want to mention is that Corduroy sounded really good where it was, because one of the big things that we had mentioned from night one was that we had the reverse, that All Night was in the number 4 position, and they had to stop before getting the singers on stage and introducing them. And then they said goodbye to the singers after they finished the song and then went into Corduroy. And we both thought that really interrupted the set. This is the change that they made from the night prior that really fit and made the set just that much better. Just small changes in there. And there's going to be a couple others, within those confines that it made Corduroy better. It made All Night better.
It's better. It is better.
And if they're gonna do it, then this is the way
you got to
do
do it this way.
Right.
This is the way to do it.
Right.
Absolutely. I don't know, man. All Night, and I don't dislike the song. I'm just having a real hard time putting it in a place in a set list, and I know you almost have to do it early.
Yeah.
But I don't think it belongs. It doesn't make any sense if you do it in the encore. You know what?
No.
Maybe it does. I don't know. I don't know.
I agree. It has to be early.
But I don't know. Maybe I have to hear it later because I don't think this is. I don't think it works here either.
I don't think
know.
they have played it later. They've only played this 25 times.
No, that's what I mean. I think I have to hear it later, just to compare because
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll probably never happen, but
this is it needs to kind of come off of something special, something uplifting, and it's kind of it's not a song that's going to get you singing all the high parts and really up at your highest amount of energy. And I think I only knew from looking at the set list the night before, or either talking to you or Steve, that they had done this and they had done this with the singers and maybe expect this. And I think that was my expectation, to expect this and Who You Are. That day, when I was in the car, either on the way to the train station or on the way to, I think I was doing summer classes at the time for college, I put on Lost Dogs, and because just to brush up and just be like, okay, just in case they play something from Lost Dogs tonight, I'm kind of in the loop on it, because it wasn't something that I was listening to nonstop. And of course, All Night is the first track on the first disc, so it makes it easier to remember. And I'm just, they didn't do a lot from that album at the show. So what I did want to bring up too is one of the 3 singers. I did some investigating on the singers. The female singer I couldn't find any information on because I kept searching her. I thought he kept saying Bernice, and then I listened harder and it said, I think he was saying Lenice. And I was saying, you know what, I don't think I can spell Lenice, so I won't even search for it. Then the other guy, Sharif, I think his name was, I found a little bit on him. But the other guy, Fonzie Thornton, is actually a pretty well-known R&B backup singer. Did a lot of work for both Luther Vandross and Aretha Franklin. So it's kind of cool little nugget to have.
And I also thought, even though they're not like really loud in the mix, I did think it was a little bit better this time when they make their appearances.
Yeah, I don't think I noticed really any changes.
No, it's nothing. It's not a big crazy change, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's not worse.
No, it's not worse at all. And honestly, if they did more, you'd be kind of groaning. But it's cool that they did do it, that they gave a nod to a couple local musicians. And, you know, I think going through my head at the time, I'm like, okay, well, I've definitely never seen another band do something like that before. So that's kind of nifty. I'll take it. So,
Yeah.
All right. Ed says, yeah, we're going to play all night. This ain't no free show, you know. And they get into Crop Duster. This was the first out of this bunch to me at that time, felt like a filler. And I didn't really know it, care for it too much. And it was, I think, listening to this boot, this was one of the few skippable tracks that I had, just because it never stuck with me. You know, what I didn't know, that they hadn't played it for 109 shows before playing it at this show. So I had no idea that I was getting something pretty rare at this point. But I haven't heard Crop Duster since this show, so if I got it again, I think I'd appreciate it a little more.
Yeah, I don't think it's total filler. I don't think it hits the ground running. I think it takes a little bit for this to get up to speed, but where it gets up to speed is the chorus, and I absolutely love the chorus in this song. So
yeah,
I it's not a skip for me, and it's not a filler, but I'm listening to it to get to the chorus.
Yeah, I feel a little less about the chorus, and I feel more about the ending of the song. The moon is rolling around. That part I love.
Yes. Yeah, but the verses and the beginning of the song specifically, and specifically this version here, it's you got to stick it out. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
It's a little choppy. I don't want to say sloppy, but they're finding a groove with it. But they hit it. They get there.
I think if you would have told me at that moment, if you would have said they haven't played this for 109 shows, I'd be like, well, they sounded pretty good. It didn't sound like they had trouble with it at all,
right,
or it had been left off, 109 set list before this date. I wouldn't have noticed at all. So, for that, I give them a lot of credit. All right. I just want to, every song, it feels like after every song this band talks on this show. And I remember every single one of these little speeches, because it's not just like Ed's not rambling. He's kind of making a point, and it doesn't, I don't know how you feel about it, but to me, because I've listened to it so many times, it doesn't feel like it breaks up the set at all. It doesn't feel like it breaks up any of the momentum, especially here in these couple of songs. It doesn't, none of this really feels like they're talking for a real long time.
There's a bunch of them, but you're right. It's
at least
not,
this one was funny.
There's less pointless rambling, I think, in this one, and if it's pointless, it's at least comical,
right,
and lighthearted, instead of him, doing the Michael Scott, like sometimes I start a sentence without even knowing what I'm going to say, type thing. That's not quite the case here. It's, like I said, it's lighthearted, it's fun. It's not taking away from anything, really.
No, and I remember every single one of these almost verbatim. Where I can not look at my notes, and I'm trying to, but you know what? I won't do that because damn it, we're a professional podcast. So Ed says, we tried to relearn this one for you tonight, and we'll dedicate it to the woman in front holding a sign that says it's her 100th show. So good on you. I've been to 102. This is Stone Gossard's 98th show, and he's going to get the right guitar on. And he goes on by saying, it's a long time since we played this, and it's always been one of my favorites, and it's one that Stone wrote. And it's Garden. And I think this was the moment that I realized, because Eddie said we haven't played this in a while, and then when they go into it and it's Garden, I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me that they don't play 10 songs all the time? I figured that we would get at least 5 or 6 every single night, and, you know, in and out they would rotate. Like, you know, Garden and Deep would be probably 2 of the lesser of the bunch, but it had been 52 shows since they played Garden, and it felt like a really big deal. It felt like what I was saying before, that I wanted to get something that the guy who went the night before and had his debut show the night before didn't get, and this was it.
I love the placement.
The placement's great.
And you know that I prefer Garden live than I do recorded. Recorded, I don't know, man. It never stuck at all. But yeah, this is awesome. I have no notes for it.
Yeah, I didn't have much for it too. I think, like, when you listen back to it with a different ear, you hear things, and I did notice that the final little bit of it, I think Mike had some trouble at the end there. That little wah, 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 wah. He was a little off with the rest of the band.
There was a few little parts, yeah, but I thought the ending was pretty strong altogether.
I mean, for 52 shows, this is not an easy. It doesn't feel like an easy song to play. There's a lot of pieces that go into playing this song. For 52 shows, not playing it and playing it the way they did, I thought even then I wouldn't have noticed anything coming out of Mike that sounded up or sounded different. So, you know, but that's the untrained ear.
Right.
It's a little different now, but it doesn't take my enjoyment out of it at all.
No, not at all.
And again, just really cool that, you know, a little feather in the cap, you know, 7 songs in, that I was getting something that maybe not a lot of people were getting at the time. And I've seen Garden a couple more times. It's not necessarily a rare, well, it's rare-ish to hear, but not, it didn't get any extra rare points in our fantasy league, so it's not up in that scale, but
right.
That gets us into this part. You can hear Mike start the song while Ed is talking a little bit, and even when he starts the song, I don't know if he can hear himself, but he's off tune for sure. He's down tune or just playing in the wrong spot. You notice that?
I think. Did he think maybe? Are we changing the key for it tonight, or?
But Ed is.
The answer is no.
The answer is no. Ed is talking again, and he says the last line in the song was written about the government, and then he goes off on a little bit of a short ramble about government letting people go to war, and he's actually holding something in his hand at the time, and he's kind of looking back and forth. So I don't know if that little part about the government was scripted. I think what was scripted there was that he mentioned George Carlin, and I think he wanted to write down this George Carlin quote that he recited. And George Carlin passed away a couple days before the Garden shows, and he said that he gave us a lot to think about, and said not everybody named. It gave us the knowledge that not everybody named George is a complete imbecile. So then I just wonder if he was just reading the quote from that piece of paper he's holding, and he's just like, here's one of my favorite George Carlin quotes. I'm in favor of the separation of church and state. My idea is that these two institutions screw us up enough on our own that when you put these two together, they are certain death. And that takes us into this, which we've mentioned on the show before many times. Whenever we fuck something up, we'll kind of, in passing, kind of say it. And while we're saying it, we're like, oh, can't wait till we actually talk about that moment, huh? And here it is. It's to tee up a little bit. It's marker in the sand, but they don't get off to the right start. So let's hear how they start this, and the random act of God that led them to kind of get the song off the wrong foot, and then Mike says the classic line.
Hey.
Okay, just checking. It was a simple mistake. It was not an act of God.
I fucked that up. I wrote the song and I fucked it up, so I guess I have the right to do that.
I wrote the song, but I fucked that up. So I guess I have a right to do that. That it's one of the most classic moments from this show that I can remember going back in my mind, because it wasn't, obviously they fuck stuff up at shows before, intros of songs, and you sort of kind of you pass them by and you're just like, okay, well, they got back into it and there's the song. But this is just, first of all, Mike never touches the microphone at a live show. He just doesn't do it unless he's provoked. So hearing his, I always think his voice is filled with helium sometimes. He just has that very high, squeaky voice.
I know. I actually love Mike's voice.
I do too, yeah.
It's
kind of endearing, but...
He sounds like, I don't know. He's got the voice that makes you sound like he's just your friend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But it's just funny. Like, he just doesn't ever take a microphone live. And I mean, almost nobody else in the band does unless they're doing backup vocals. So, it's a rare moment in that aspect. But the line, my friend, how good is that line, and how much does that stick in your head after all these years?
This is the second line I hear when I listen to an album version of a song. I feel like I hear Mike say this when I listen to Avocado. Frustrating, because it's always the Avocado songs that they're fucking up. And it's always right in the beginning is when it's like they can't even start a stupid Avocado song. So what I really love is that it's not like he messed up and he fixes it. He is struggling.
Going back and forth.
Dude, it takes him forever. He does not know this song. It takes him forever to remember it, which is funny. Because I have a feeling, Jeff is probably whispering to him like, "Dude, it's this."
I think it was on the video that Jeff was kind of right next to him, just sort of giving him the bass note. And
exactly. Jeff doesn't stop playing. The bass player can't stop playing. It's certain death, let me tell you. But oh gosh, the fact that it takes him absolutely forever to figure out this song was great.
And you know what? When they get into it, this is a really good version of Marker. I couldn't help but just listen to Matt the whole time and realize that sometimes when they do songs, it feels like there's a purpose for the way that they do them, and the way that these drums are and the way that the content in this song is presented, it feels like a war battle drums, like pump, 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 pump. It has that like very, I guess, military vibe to it, where there's not a lot of cymbal, there's not a lot of crash. It's all very heavy tom, and it peaked on this song. I just listening back to it a couple more times, I just noticed it a lot more, and that's what really, without even recognizing what I loved about the song, it is what I love about the song, is just how great Matt sounds.
What I love about the song is the contrast in the chorus, yet it's so seamless of a transition. The chorus is beautiful.
Yeah,
it's so well written, and the lyrics and the vocal melody and
it's like a herky jerky kind of verse too.
It's such a drastic drum change from that part, back and forth.
Right.
And it's great. It's Avocado, baby. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. I love the song, and it just sounds clean and clear all the time. Every time you hear it, if they could get past the beginning, and that's the case with like every single Avocado song.
That's the toughest battle to get through.
Can we start the song?
Yep. If
we could start it, we'll play it.
But if they wrote the song and fucked it up, then you get this. You
get it. But I love having it, so can't ask for anything more.
I love having it too, and this is sort of a theme with some of these songs, and you can look back on it 11 years later, almost to the day, and I'm saying to myself, there's already 2 songs in this set that I haven't seen again. Crop Duster and Marker in the Sand. And then there's one song that they almost never play in All Night that I've seen like 5 times.
Yeah.
Which is kind of insane, but
kind of annoying.
This is why you keep going to shows, folks. This is why you keep going to shows. So Ed then talks a lot. I think he just says something to the crowd. He says, "You made that one real good. Thank you." And that's all he said. But again, a little thing. And that gets into ultimate transitional relief pitcher song, I'm Open. Literally no opinion of it then, and semi less of one now. It was only the 6th of 13 times that they've ever played it, and they played it again at MSG a couple years later when they would return at one of those 2010 shows. So 2 out of 13 is a really good ratio, but who cares because it's barely a song. It's just an intro to get to Wishlist.
No notes, don't care.
Yeah, that's... I mean, they can put a solo in it. We might talk about it for another minute, but that's about it. So
probably not.
Yeah, barely. Wishlist, though. I got some things to say about Wishlist. How about you?
Not much. Not much.
I feel like I never had much of an interest in the song, but this is Yield, and this is the first Yield of the night, and it was always my go-to album, and I think just hearing it and knowing that they are representing Yield on this night, I was excited regardless of that. And, I think Wishlist is kind of one of those that he chooses to change the lyrics whenever he so pleases. And, one of the things at the time, and I don't care about this stuff as much anymore because I'm just not a homer for hometowns anymore, Ed just makes your city feel so important in songs. And when he does the all New Yorkers, hands are raised and open towards the skies, and the crowd kind of boosts up a little bit, like that at the time, like that was a special thing because it's New York. I had an infatuation with the city. I wanted to, live there and go to Ranger games all the time. And, I had some kind of city pride because there's really not much Islip pride to have. It's just kind of a Long Island town. But, I was 21 and had barely started my life. So, really to have pride in a location and being a part of New York City had not been living there, but also having pride in the music. It was a nice connection between those two. So I really, I like that. I like that they did that.
I actually somewhat disagree with that. And it's, I have to be honest, I think Eddie Vedder might be someone that might actually do that the least. And you've seen Green Day live, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Every song.
Thank you, Houston.
Chicago, New York.
Right to Hey!
Oh, Boston! Yeah, there are bands that do it way too much, and I've seen that happen a lot. And when a singer, at least when Pearl Jam does it, it's somewhat tasteful, and he makes it fit because he's not a moron.
Right.
But so when they're singing a song and it's like blah 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 blah, and then New York City, and they try to put something in, it's like, oh, that's stupid. So it works here, but I honestly I don't care. It really doesn't do anything for me because he's going to do the same thing the next night in,
I know.
Friggin' wherever they are,
I think it was Hartford the next night. But
Hartford,
yeah.
I wish I lived in Camden. No, you don't, sir. You do not wish you lived in Camden. You are a liar. So, I understand. It's cool in the moment. You're having some drinks, you're singing along. He says the name of your city. It's a great time, but
well,
I don't know.
The one that was the worst.
I think I've just kind of grown out of that. Not to sound like totally cynical, but when you see it a million times and you see bands really play it up, it's like, all right.
You know which one was the worst to me? Fenway
Which
this
one?
past year. Fenway. Arms Aloft, where they changed the chorus to Arms Aloft in Fenway Park.
Yeah,
I'm just
Fenway
like,
Park, yeah.
every time. Just say Aberdeen, please. Just say Aberdeen just once. Just have to mention that the end of the song here, they kind of do. It's not like last week where we just kind of heard that, sort of just finish up and transition into the next song. They're kind of going off into a little bit of an improv, and we played in the beginning of the show to intro the show. I played This All Seems Like Such a Dream, our band playing at MSG, and then after that part, he sings I Wish I Was Vice President with Obama, He's Our Man, put an end to future wars, because that's what a president is for. And I think at the time I had been sold on Barack Obama being for our next president, because just needed a lot of things needed to, in Randy Marsh terms, change. And I think I was just happy being part of the large majority that were firmly not just on the side of Obama, but were firmly anti-Bush as well. Next up is State of Love and Trust, and I think I love this a lot more listening to it back on the bootleg, because it feels like you're ending Wishlist and you're kind of ending on a nice little note. It's peaceful. It's kind of it's a pretty song, and then you're jumping right into and I think this debuted my State of Love and Trust jumping dance that I do, and I don't know if are you aware of the jumping dance that I do during the song?
I think I've seen it once or twice.
There could be a legit workout to be done to the song the way that I dance to it live. I think
yeah. You know what you should do? Maybe you should do a
it'd be like a 3-minute abs kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. I think you should do an instructional video for the Facebook page.
That would be interesting. Yeah, maybe. That's a big maybe on the table there. I don't know if I'd want to watch myself jump around to State of Love and Trust for 3 minutes, but
well, of course you don't want to watch yourself, but everybody else wants to watch you.
And just know that the whole premise of it is that during the Hey Na 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 Na, hey na na hey, and I can't sing it because I'm so out of fucking breath. So, yeah, I love this version. I think this is perfect energy after Wishlist, and this is even like the little thing I remember Mike getting into his solo a little late, and you don't hear anything at first, then you hear like a little delayed it's just it always kind of stuck in my mind. So really good here.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I'm take it or leave it on this one because we've just heard it so many times, and I just got sick and tired of talking about it. But this is a take it one.
Yeah. The crowd going back and forth with the ayo, ayo, ayo. That's another just you're at a fucking Pearl Jam show moment.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's go into even flow. Ed gets into it. He says, shit's starting to happen now, people. And this is the time. It's perfect. You built to it with all the songs that you did beforehand, State of Love and Trust. It's got the crowd back into the energy and the singing and the dancing. And you've really built to even flow being at this moment. As opposed to night one, which we talked about, that took a lot of really strange turns, unemployable somewhere, faithful somewhere. It just didn't quite meet where you want even flow to build to. It was just, all this stuff, and then, okay, here's even flow, and you it didn't make the mark as well as it should have.
It did not flow evenly.
No, it did not. And I think we said at that point, if we moved even flow to about seventh or eighth in the lineup, that it would have worked. But here we have it 12, and it still works. You can find the spot. It's not number. It's based off a song and what song it comes after and what energy that you're bringing into it. And I absolutely love State of Love and Trust going into even flow here.
I mean, it's just it flows evenly. It's crazy. I mean, it's a high. It's a rush. You don't get a break. And as someone that's there for the first time, it's probably pretty overwhelming, as I could imagine.
Yeah,
I think it could be overwhelming for a seasoned veteran.
Yeah, I think this version is well above your average even flow. I think this is up there, in the great ones. This version, and it's funny because do you remember when we did the Brooklyn episode and we talked a lot about Matt's solo, and I said that was what I used, what the part that we used for the intro theme song to our show. And I remember that happening live, and I think that was the incredible solo that I had been hearing throughout all these years. And then when I listened to this, I'm like, wait a minute, that Brooklyn one paled in comparison to this one. Just like this one was unbelievable. Unbelievably good. Video, and Matt isn't he isn't furling a brow, he isn't breaking a sweat. It's all, he is a machine. He is machine operated, and I don't freaking understand how that works. He doesn't miss a freaking beat, and it's like he's a freaking robot almost, that he knows exactly. You don't see it on his face. On his face, it just looks like he's working. And, some drummers like Keith Moon, he's putting so much emphasis into every move, every beat. We talk about it with Jack all the time, that Jack is very physical in his moves, that he hits really hard. And Matt just looks like he's just a robot prepared for a task, and this task is an unbelievably difficult task. So whatever engineering that you've programmed in this robot, you have a very, very incredibly intelligent engineering team to put together this amazing drum machine in Cameron.
But the best part is the engineering team that built Cameron also put in a human heart, because he's not always he's not always perfect, and that's what's so great about him, is that he makes everything look so flawless, yet he's not flawless, and that's what makes him such a good drummer.
Definitely good even flow to get for your first time. Not going to get too much better than that nowadays. And Ed says, he's not crazy, he's my brother, that's Mike McCready. And then shouts out Cameron on the drums and introduces our friends, the singers, back on stage. And he says here, I'm glad he said this, because sometimes it's just like, I get it, Matt and Mike deserve everything, but sometimes and he says it, the microphone is a dangerous thing, and sometimes he forgets to mention the two people most responsible for us being in this room more than anybody, Jeff Ament and Stone Gossard. And don't you dare forget Jeff and Stone, because yes, they are the most responsible for you being there.
That's putting it lightly, I think.
Yeah. So, and it does feel like he gives McCready a lot of credit. He gives Cameron a lot of credit. And sometimes Jeff and Stone are just like, all right, so we're here. Cool. It's fine. We give credit to them too, but you want to give us some, praise, some sign of worth. It was just nice to hear their names in something that just wasn't just running through the lineup at the end of the show. So that's good. I said singers are back on stage, and that brings us to Who You Are, which is no change from the night before, the show that we covered a couple weeks ago, aside from this being another good utilization of it, instead of wherever it was at the prior show. I think it was before Even Flow at that show, if I'm not mistaken. Does that sound right? Like one or two before it?
Well, because Even Flow was so freaking weird in that first show.
Right. It was definitely before Even Flow, but I don't know if
it was
right before or
Who You
two.
Are whipping half full Even Flow.
Oh, okay. So
and that was 11, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, that's a little weird. I'm not really into all that.
I'm not into it either.
But yeah, again, I mentioned before, I knew that they played it the first night, so I think I listened to it once or twice that day to kind of familiarize myself. But it was a, I'm not like the biggest fan of this song. I know you like it a little more than I do, but
I just like seeing it pop up. I think when they nail it, it could be really incredible.
I think this is a good version of it.
Yeah, so do I.
This is a very good version. It just doesn't rev me up as much as I don't know. It's not a rev up song. I think it was good from the moment, because I think you needed to kind of calm down a little bit and relax after Even Flow. So it's good utilization.
Yeah, I again, I'll never complain if it pops up, and if it's good, I think it's good, and it's I don't know. It feels like a song that, if it gets big enough and it fills up a place like Madison Square Garden, it could definitely leave a lasting memory on you, because it can be very, operatic, and it could be, it can be a crowd participation if they're into it, and it could fill. I think it could fill the room, but yeah, it could also be a little bit of a break for you at the same time, while still really kind of filling you up.
Right.
It's. I don't know. I think it has a lot of different purposes. Purpose. It's multi-purposes.
Purposeful.
It is a purposeful song.
I suppose.
I suppose.
Yeah. So after Who You Are, Ed says, New Yorkers couldn't do it without you. But tells a story that says that there was a fire in Seattle a long time ago, so they built a city on top of another city. So under the city, there were rats as big as this guitar body running around. And then makes a few mentions to rats and says, I was at Shea Stadium a few days ago. You definitely got rats over there. And says, yes, they had tons of rats down at Shea Stadium. That was, yeah, we do have it a lot nicer now. Shea was our dump, but City is a really fun, beautiful place to watch a baseball game. So he says, rats in Shea Stadium, rats in DC, and that gets us to one of the signature songs that they should be playing every time they're in New York. And essentially, the last couple of years, they have played every time in New York. And it's Rats. And because it's such a New York song, and I don't think Pizza Rat was a thing at the time, but it is now. So you can kind of relate it to this and all that. So we're going to play Rats. Because why not? Because this song is dedicated to the memory of Shea Stadium. How about that? And the team that they're honoring this weekend, the 69 Mets that won a championship there. So there you go.
Let's all honor the memory of a baseball team.
Yeah,
that once was.
Currently sucks ass. Don't get us started. But yeah, all right, here's Rats.
Don't fight, don't oppress, and equals given a right. Stop the poor so they can be well fed. Line their holes with the dead one's bread. Hey, don't scurry when something bigger comes their way. Don't back themselves together and run as one. Don't shed where they're not supposed to. Don't take one lightness. They don't compare.
It just goes back to the whole conversation here of thinking that, New York City is home, and they're playing a song because we're in New York City, and they aren't going to play Rats in Michigan because they have rats in Michigan. So it feels feels special. It feels yours.
I guess if that's what has to be ours, I guess I have to take it. But you're right. No one hears about rats in Kalamazoo. You talk about the rats in New York City.
Those are the rats. Like I said, there ain't no pizza rats anywhere else. I feel like on this one, this was one I wanted to specifically bring up, that he's crushing these high notes. And you said before that you thought it was an okay Eddie show, but compared to how Rats is performed nowadays, he's not even trying at that something bigger comes in, and he hits it here, and he really only hits it in the second chorus, but I think this is better than most modern day versions that he does.
Yeah, I noticed that it's not spectacular, but he fucking goes for it. At least, it's. I give him credit there.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like he really does. That he tries that hard on it anymore. I think it's just kind of, if they're gonna play it, he's gonna get through it the way that
the way he can, basically.
Yeah, the way he can, and I get that. Like, he's not 25, 27, however old he was when Versus came out. Right. He's not that age anymore, so we can't have those expectations. We can just enjoy the songs for hearing the songs. But when he does get to that level that we know that he can or has at one point gotten to, it is exciting, and it is a cool little moment. So,
yeah.
More talking here. It's a lot of talking. Says this is a dedication. They were trying to get us to participate when they had this gentleman's number retired this winter, and said that it's a high honor because not a lot of numbers are retired. Back then, there were 5 Ranger numbers including this one that we're talking about right now. Well, kind of. We'll get to that in a second. Now there have been 5 more that have been retired. He says the next one is for number 11, Brian Leach. And you just hear the crowd. At first, they're kind of excited. Then they're like, oh no, no, that's wrong. That is very wrong. Very, very wrong. Egregious sports error, especially at the time. I was pretty peeved, being the Ranger fan that I am, and getting to see that moment, not live, but on TV, and obviously watching the Brian Leach my entire life. That was number 2, not number 11. 11 is Messier, but we'll get to that point. So, yeah, there's some booing in the crowd, and it's probably from more Ranger fans than it is from Flyer fans or Devil fans or Islander fans. I think, they know you fucked up. You fucked up on our team in our city. How dare you?
I'm not a hockey fan, so none of it really mattered to me at all.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I know that whole thing. I remember just looking at you, and I was having the time of my life. This is the part later in the show that is really exciting, but I remember looking at you. You were just kind of rolling your eyes like, oh, fuck hockey. I hate hockey. And
it's like I almost forgot where I was.
it's literally the one thing that I love and you hate that we can't bond on.
Is hockey. Yeah, hockey I can too.
Yeah, like everything else we both share a common interest in, but you just absolutely cannot stand hockey. It's the one thing.
Yeah.
But that got us into Given a Fly. And I said in the beginning it was one of the 3 that I really wanted, and I got it. And I think I enjoyed it at the time, but listening to it back on the bootleg, I think I realized that compare it to the album track, and I'm just not as impressed, even though this is I've grown to appreciate live versions of it, and this is how I like them playing it live, because I've sort of changed my taste, so to speak, because there are versions that are egregiously fast, and I didn't feel like that with this.
I thought this one was paced wonderfully. Yeah, and I got to be honest, getting up to it, listening back to the bootleg. I haven't listened to this bootleg in a couple of years, but I skip around on it. But I wasn't excited to get to Given to Fly. I don't know. It's been a little while since I listened to a bootleg for one of these, since I've been off for a couple weeks, and I knew Given to Fly was coming up. I'm like, but this one was the pacing was great. The crowd seemed great, and yeah, I mean, was it exciting? No, it's not really that exciting, but it sounds good.
It's a little misplaced. End of the set. They got 2 more songs after it. And
well, you know what though, I don't mind them kind of bringing it back from Rats, because Rats is kind of there for fun.
Right.
And Given to Fly, I think, is more of like a big, a fan favorite for especially for like general audiences. So
sure.
I think it is a good spot, but is it the right song? Like you know what I mean? Like, is it the right?
Does it have the right surroundings?
Is it the right feel type of song to put there? The idea of it is correct, but is it the right? Yeah, is it the right one? I guess it's tough to describe. I think you know what I'm trying to say, though.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, even though I liked it then, and even though I wanted it beforehand, it wasn't one of the ask me the next day what my favorite parts were, what song they played. I think it might be maybe like the 10th song I would mention. I'd be like, oh, and you know what? They play Given a Fly, yeah. But there was so much else in this that I would say before that. So,
absolutely,
yeah, and that gets us into a really powerful end of first set here. Evolution, baby. Of course, you kind of know it's coming at some point, and you're always happy to hear it. And this is a good spot, because to get you to the end, I think it did this and flowed wonderfully. I think being a basic Pearl Jam fan at that point, I was very happy to have Evolution because, I hadn't heard it 17 times, so it felt new, it felt fresh, and, excited, and, all the lyrics, and it was really, this, Do the Evolution was one of the songs that really did me in. Buying the Yield album was based off of watching MTV's Total Request Live and seeing all the boy bands up against the Do the Evolution music video, that I was just like, wow, this is cool animation. This is a cool ass song, and I love everything about this. So I'm gonna go and buy this album because I also know the first couple of songs that they put out from the earlier albums, and this is Evolution has a strong spot in my heart because of the way I got into the band.
Yeah, it was, is still very nice to hear pop up. I think it's one of the songs you could hear a million times, and Stone starts off the song, and it still will. I don't want to say catch you off guard, but it does get you excited. You scream and you jump around, and you know it's going to be great. Even if it's not great, it's still great because it's Do the Evolution. So,
but sometimes it doesn't blow you away. I think I know
I don't know.
The tone was going there. Is that where? Am I right about that?
No, I even if it's not a great version, I think if I'm seeing it live, it won't matter. I think it's one of those, if I get it, I'm happy no matter what.
Yeah, I'm pretty much there because you kind of expect it anyway, and then you're just sort of, but you're not. It's sort of just determined on where they're going to do it and how it fits in with everything else, instead of that they are going to do it and you're waiting for it kind of deal.
Right.
It's
yeah.
They move this around way more than they do Porch or something of that nature. So, all right, I have a feeling this is one of the ones that you were really looking forward to this whole show because
I remember when it came up, you and I just spun our heads at each other because I think we both knew the set was coming to an end, and to end a set this way, I think blew us both away.
Yep.
And not only that, but this is what Eddie says right before they start is the third thing that I always remember.
When this stage starts rocking, can you feel it too?
Yeah, because it's kind of like it's a callback, and
yep,
and it's right around it's right after the song that got them the stage rocking, and it's a great way to go into a song that would probably also rock the stage.
We say a billion times that this song has to come out of nowhere, so I'm glad that we haven't said the name of it, because I really just right here, I'm just going to slip it in, and it's just going to go bam. So, I mean, this, I think we had the shocked face, because anytime the song, they do it, it feels like it is coming out of nowhere, and you want that. You don't want them to say too much beforehand. You don't want them to sort of, show their hand on it. And
right.
When they go right into it, banana, it like, I think I remember just both of us stared at each other. We were like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, maybe you have that kind of lackluster crowd reaction right before they get into the main riff there, because it was out of left field.
I think everybody's so just like amazed, and maybe they're just kind of like rocking their heads and things like that. I don't know. I don't think I noticed anything different about the crowd. I don't think I was paying attention to that for this one, but
I always noticed that it just that beginning, the da-na-na-na-na-na, right into the main part there. It's like there's that quick pause, but you really don't hear anything, and maybe it's just because everyone's.
I think everybody's got the shocked
bit.
face on, yeah, and then it takes a second to react.
Yeah,
I think that might be it. And to be honest,
keep going.
No, I was going to say, to be honest with you, I don't know of any other time. I'm sure that it'll come up. It might have come up in one of the 40 shows that we've done. It might come up in another show that we do later this year, but I don't remember a time seeing Go close a first set at all.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
And I think
it's such a good spot.
I think at the time I thought that we were getting something rare, even though this was the only time in 2008 they played Go, but I thought at the time that Go was something special, that it was, we weren't going to hear it in the next couple of nights. I feel like it's more common now than I thought it was, but I think we both, after the show, this was one of the talking points. We were just like, I can't believe they played Go. And maybe it's just that factor of just out of nowhere, it makes you feel like you have to say that about it.
Yeah, because, you have a really good chance of not getting it. It's not a guarantee.
And there's not a lot of different spots for it.
Right.
Early set, maybe in an encore if you're lucky.
I will say, unfortunately, though, this is not one of my favorite performances of the song.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Because looking back, although we had that moment and that it was kind of an eye opener, it was kind of shocking. When I first heard the chords, those opening chords weren't as strong as I'd like them to be. And
yeah, the whole song was a little run of the mill.
Right.
We've heard like, knock you off your chair, smack you in the face versions of the song, and this, I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. Eddie comes in a little late on that second verse there. He's jumping around a little bit. It looks like he had moved his microphone to his mouth just a little too late, and he just missed his cue.
Yep.
But besides that, it's not bad. The solo's great. Drums are great. The bass is great.
I think it's just placement makes it seem so much better than it is.
Oh, the placement is a standout of the set, of the whole night, especially it being my favorite live song and one of my favorite songs. It's just awesome. But yeah, I guess you do this for long enough and you realize that, okay, maybe that wasn't such a fantastic version of it, but yeah, there are things about it that make it really, really special and cool, and the placement is 100% that reason.
Yeah, and I didn't listen to this for a second thinking that my memory was sort of, I guess, diminished or not what I thought it was, because this version wasn't as good. I just, because I remember talking about it on the train, can you believe that they closed the set with Go? And I think, I counted on you to sort of, be my insider at the time and be like, do they do something like this? And you were like, not that I know of. No, almost never. And because you would say that to me, I would think, holy shit, I saw something. My first show, I saw something that you might not get in 25 to 30 to 50. There could be somebody listening right now that's never heard that Go close a first set or any set, and they could have gone to 70 shows.
Yeah.
So,
and everyone needs to see Go close the set, because it is it's wild.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah. It's absolutely a good moment. But you know what? This is also, while something is ending here, it's also just getting started. We're in the encore now, and it starts out with Inside Job. And, at the time I didn't have a lot of attachment to the song. It's kind of like the last cut off of Avocado, and things are much different now. I have a massive attachment to the song. This is, the last year or so, this has been probably in my top 10, either played or, been circulating in my head songs. But this was one that it's also, I've never seen this again. This is the first and last time I've heard it. So, I don't think I took this in very well. I don't think I really remember watching this song, but listening to it back on the bootleg, is this version not the most flawless version they can possibly play this song? This was perfect.
It's fantastic, and I think you're going to agree with me on this one. This is how you open up an encore, because this is such a good example of the feel and tone that you want to basically start part 2 of the show.
Yeah, I totally agree.
This is the perfect example of it.
It's almost the second opener in a way.
Exactly.
And although they don't really do a campfire cool down here, it's cooling down, but it's sort of giving you in the same emotion that Release started the show. You're starting another show with the same type of emotion, and it's just really uplifting. And I don't know why I can't really remember when they did this. I don't know if I was going to the bathroom in between songs and kind of came into this a little late. I can't remember that, but if this were now, this would be absolutely a standout highlight moment of the show, and I'm disappointed in myself for not really taking that in, and it sort of regrets, but it's also that you kind of become a different fan as you go on, and you learn more and you listen more. So I'm just a different fan, way different fan now than I was back then. So
I guess it's tough to you might think about it afterwards. You're so in the moment, and instead of saying to yourself, okay, let me go through my stats right now. You don't really want to do that. You want to just enjoy it, enjoy what you're doing and what you're seeing in the moment, and then maybe you might be a little disappointed as time goes on, because you're like, oh, I didn't really understand the stat for what I was seeing. But who wants to be a
this is math.
This is just math. You don't need to study while you're there watching. Just make sure you really create a personal moment with everything that you're seeing. If you're enjoying it, create the moment, and then go back and say, oh, okay, I really took it all in, and now I know that it's rare, instead of now saying, oh yeah, I wish I had paid attention a little bit more.
Well, I think it was more of a matter that I just didn't familiarize myself with the song. I think that was probably why I don't have that vivid memory. Because if it were now, again, this would be top notch. Would love it. Would be talking about it more than a lot of other things that we ended up talking about. So, and we would have played it too, because this is a version that you absolutely have to hear. It's one of the best inside jobs that I remember. Maybe not better than the Wrigley one, but it's good. It's really good. So I'm disappointed I didn't get to play for you here, but we're going to play a ton of songs in both encores. So there's no lack of music that you'll hear on this show. Ed shouts out both Boom and Mike, who definitely were working and coordinated in the song. Boom had a really good song for Inside Job. That was Boom's first real big shining moment. And Ed says it's a long way from a small town in Hawaii to Madison Square Garden, and he's got his brother and son in the crowd, and says that he walked around New York City this morning. You can always tell a Hawaiian in New York because he's just walking around like this, and Ed is just looking up and staring at all the buildings, and it's pretty funny, and him and Boom have kind of a laugh. So he invites the singers back on stage, and for the last song that they played one more with them. I think, but that's not really an important part of that. But they come back on to do WMA. It's the last song they did with them the night before. Again, very happy to hear WMA, and I think I knew they did it the night before, but I'm not sure. I didn't know that this song was making a little bit of a comeback at the time, because the first time they played it in full started at Bonnaroo that year, and then I guess they were feeling it for a little while, and it stopped being the butt of the daughter jokes. But I kind of expected that they would play it like this after that, because I didn't really know the stats. I didn't really realize it was a tag. So when I went to stuff like the Hartford shows after this, so, the third and fourth shows, and they would tag with WMA, I would kind of be like, oh, cool, they played WMA, but no, it doesn't really count. So I didn't realize how good I had it with this version here.
Yeah, it's a good version. I think it's pretty straightforward and solid, and happy to see it pop up, of course.
I'm just hoping for more of this as the years go by. That they can get back into a groove, saying, you know what, this is a song that sounds great the way it is. We don't need to tag with it. We can play it every now and again, and it'll be really good. Because I mean, like, the chorus on this is just fantastic. I know.
Yeah,
he's
it's got
not
some
going to sing it the
relevance
same
too,
way,
and,
but
right,
of course. I mean,
so,
it was relevant then. It's still relevant today.
Yeah.
Ed says we're going to bring it down for a second. Just a little campfire, just a little singer-along, quiet down, and go into Lucan. So, good little dad joke there. Glad to hear it live. Obviously, for any college student with anger issues, I think that Lucan is the perfect fit, the perfect diagnosis when you're looking for Pearl Jam songs to play for a 21-year-old who doesn't want to write his thesis. They had to adjust to the pacing this one a little bit, and it kind of, at first it sounds like they're going all out, and then they kind of slow it down a little. Did you notice that? They just sort of adjusted on the fly.
Yeah, maybe it's not ringing a bell right now. It's at Luke and I glaze over, to be honest.
I know. I just checked to see if Eddie's singing everything. In this one, he was about 50 to 60%. So
I'd say, yeah, I was gonna give him a generous 60%.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, it's like an F grade with a B- performance.
Yeah, like he passed on the curve.
Yeah, right. Makes sense. Another thing, a lot of stuff from the show was repeated from night one, and I know a lot of you listening that were on the boards have kind of chimed in about both shows and said that these were the weakest of all the MSG shows. I know a lot of you out there that have been to all 10 think that these are kind of the bottom, and I'm just wondering if a lot of it has to do with sort of the repetition from night one, and if things like the singers' appearances, and I'm not knocking a CJ Ramon appearance at all, but they did it both nights, so it kind of, to me, it's not Buffalo Tom, because both Buffalo Tom moments were really, really good. Yeah. I don't know. It just feels like it's just kind of a rerun a little bit.
But at the same time, which again, this you might agree with me. If you don't, that's fine. But the repetition here in night 2 is everything that's fixed and placed better makes it much better than night 1. It's like I would take the repetition and the repeats because it's flowing and sounding so much better here, and that is still light years better than 1998.
I think in 1998 there's a lot less to work off of. So if you have similar sets, you're gonna enjoy it because your expectations are set a little bit lower. Obviously, my expectations were at the bare minimum for this. So getting a Ramone on stage is the most amazing thing in the world. Fuck, they played with a Ramone, sure. Even if I had been to both shows, this one and the previous night, I probably wouldn't have batted an eye because most bands, they do this. They do the same songs every night. That's just what bands do. We went to like back-to-back Red Hot Chili Pepper shows essentially, and they played the same set list, but we didn't care because we saw the Chili Peppers twice. Those aren't the reasons why you go see Pearl Jam, and I understand that you want the variety, but if something is good, is good. I Believe in Miracles Here is cool. I love how CJ does the 1, 2, 3, 4 to get into the song. It's so Ramones. It's so perfect. Even if he wasn't an original one, but I don't really have much else to say for the sake of saving some time. It's not really too much different than night one.
Nope, happy to have it.
Here's our moment here. Ed looks up at the banners again and recognizes his mistake, and he says, wait a minute, Brian Leach isn't number 11. He's number 2. Who's 11? Messier? Well, they're equal because 1 and 1 is 2. And I'm laughing the whole time. I think this is great. And I'll bring up why in a second. And then there's this that we just have to get into the show because, again, I'll bring this up in a second. But what a great moment.
Let's go.
Now, I came up with a phrase a few years ago for a friend of mine named Alex Goot, who's not to be confused with the Stone Temple Pilots singer of the same name. Different guy. I'm sure the Alex Goot that I know is much more studied and smarter than the Stone Temple Pilots singer. He's definitely a bright kid. And there was something that happened where it was one of his two of his favorite things, and I want to say it was something.
Also, Randy, the singer for Stone Temple Pilots, his name is Jeff Goot.
Oh, there is an Alex Goot though. There is somebody named Alex Goot that's in music.
Oh, I was like, wait a minute, I think his name was Jeff.
Yeah, you're right. Because I have something in an iTunes playlist that says Alex Goot.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I get confused with that. You're 100% right. It is Jeff Goot. That's the singer for Stone Temple Pilots now.
Okay.
And I think he was on The Voice or something like that. I think he was runner-up. I don't know.
Yeah, he was. He was on one of those, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, there was something that happened to real Alex Goot that was a work friend of mine from a couple of years ago. There was something that he was a huge Fish fan, so it probably had to do with Fish, and he was a huge tennis guy, so it probably had to do with like maybe a Fish song playing in a tennis match or something like that. And when two things were combined, that he loved, and he had many different passions. He went to Yale, he had many different passions. I would call it a Gootgasm. And through friends in our inner circle that had similar combinations as what he had, I would just substitute their last name in place of his and just say, I would say like a Helbiggasm if, I don't know, Superman showed up on stage with the Red Hot Chili Peppers or something like
Gotcha.
that. So it's When Worlds Collide, essentially.
Yeah.
That right there, Let's Go Rangers, started by the crowd at a Pearl Jam show, is the ultimate Sobelgasm. You will never get a bigger Sobelgasm than that. Can you think of one?
I don't know. Maybe if it had something to do with Lagwagon. I'm not sure.
I would think better of that. Operation Ivy, maybe.
Oh yeah, Op Ivy. Yeah, bust out the old black and white hoodie.
I wish I still had it.
I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but I do not care for hockey, so I was waiting for this to pass so I could listen to more music.
I was just loving the shit out of this. This was two of my worlds combining, and it was the greatest thing that I can think of. And I know I look back at you, and you were like, "Fuck this! I could care less." But I was along with the rest of the crowd, just being like, "Yeah, let's go Rangers! It's my team. I like the Rangers." Because it was very much like that. All right, that gets us into another big moment of this night that you really just have to hear for yourself. It's right after the Let's Go Ranger chants, and it's Better Man. And we're on, remember, for me at least, we're on such a high singing Let's Go, it's a Sobelgasm, Let's Go Rangers at a Pearl Jam show, that you get Better Man. That was really high in my wheelhouse. This was like top 5 song for me at the time. So you get all that, and then you get this performance, and what happens in the beginning here is stuff of legends.
With your permission. Waiting, watching the clock as 4 o'clock has got to stop.
I wonder if Ed is fired up after all the chants, that, he just kind of is in his own world and he knows he has to play the song, and he starts out by singing the second verse, and the crowd, you can hear half of them start to sing to themselves, start to sing, I'm reading off my notes. Half of them start to sing to herself, and half are singing 4 o'clock, it's got to stop. So it depends on whether you were following Eddie or following the actual song. But it's funny because you can hear both parts. Did you notice that?
Yeah. It's I guess it depended on whether or not you were singing loud enough to where you couldn't really hear Eddie mess up the words and you think you're in the right spot, or if you heard Eddie messing up and you just decided to carry on with the second verse. Yeah.
Right. It's just kind of out of habit. But, after that, where Ed just says, with your permission, restarts the song, sings the first sentence, and then the rest of the crowd takes it the rest of the way. I was busting out in laughter that he'd even done that. And then realized halfway through that, like, wait a minute, this is 18 to 20,000 people all singing the same fucking song, and they all know the words. What's going on here? This is crazy. You can hear every word, every syllable, and not only did like it turned into a moment. It was just everything. It was everything aligning in the right spot. And it worked really, really good, and it just led to a Better Man that just sounded fantastic, and Ed laughing at himself the whole entire time. I thought I had a visual memory of him turning the mic around to the crowd, but I don't think I saw that in the YouTube video, so I could be wrong about that. But, man, was this good. This was really good.
All right.
It's just fun. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, the crowd participation is a lot of fun. It's great. I'm going to be a little, critical here. It's pretty easy to get a reaction like that out of a crowd when it's basically your biggest single besides some 10 songs.
Okay.
So every single person in there is going to be singing the song.
Does that take away from the fact that the crowd sort of picked Eddie back up when he made a mistake and
no, because we've seen Eddie just say, I'm not going to sing this, and we'll give it to the crowd. So I don't think it's nothing we haven't seen before. I'll put it that way. We have seen this before, and what I'll say about the song is the tag is great, but I've said this before too. I don't need a tag in Better Man to make Better Man a great version, and that's what happened here. The tag is great, but the rest of Better Man I felt like was very, I've said this before, run-of-the-mill. I feel like people go nuts over these tagged Better Mans with these crowd participations, but they totally gloss over really generic versions of the song. And this moment where the crowd sings lasts for a little while, and the tag lasts for a longer time than that. And then there's this big solo, but I don't need those things. That's why I really like the Let's Play 2 Better Man, because it's got an amazing solo. It has no tag. It has crowd participation, but then the actual song, the song in Let's Play 2 is one of the best Better Mans that I've ever heard, and it is the performance of that Better Man compared to this one blows this one away. It's just that this one has great crowd participation, and the Save It for Later tag is very good.
See,
I
disagree. I don't think it was generic at all.
The regular meat of the song, of the actual song here, I don't think there is anything special. I think it's a good Better Man, but there's nothing like I'm not blown away by it. I'm blown away by the performance of Let's Play 2, though. That is a spectacular Better Man.
See, I am blown away by this one because I think when I think back to the show, this is a top 3 moment for me, because it just showed that he was willing. He wasn't willing. He was willing to make a mistake. He was willing to, own up to it, and to give the crowd back the mic. And what do I know at this point that the crowd, that he lets the crowd sing the first verse, and all it is just him playing over it. I don't know that to this point. All I know is that on the album, he sings it a certain way and plays it a certain way, and I don't know what to expect the minute that I see it live, except I hope it to be good. And this one, I thought was above average, because it was more special of a version, because you had that, he had that playful banter with the crowd. When I think of Better Man and MSG, and Better Man has had a really good string of performances at MSG, and a lot of people bring up the 2010 version because of the same things. The crowd, he gives the crowd the microphone and essentially lets the crowd sing it the whole way through. And I was there in the crowd. It was really good, but and they put it on PJ20, but I said to myself, I'm like, you know what? Really, it should have been the 2008 version on PJ20 because that was a moment. That was so memorable. And I'm not trying to take away from what the 2010 version was at all. It just sticks out in my mind that the crowd was able to pick the band back up, and I didn't think it was generic at all. I thought that they absolutely tore the house down with it.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to, because I agree with... I agree with the moments and the crowd, but at the same time, it's nothing we haven't seen before up to this point, and he messed up. That's all it is. He gives it to the crowd. It's fine. He didn't, he does that, and he messes up. He messes up a lot. It's just nothing new. And
I know.
I just have to disagree with you that the actual meat of the song, it's not. It doesn't really reach the best that I've heard. I have better man versions that I prefer way above this.
You want to know something crazy? I'm going to tell you something crazy right now. All those times that you invited me on stage to sing with Tonight's Entertainment, there was only one song I would ever sing. There was only one song.
We probably did that at least twice, I would say, right? When you came up?
Oh, I think it was more than twice. I think it was a bunch of times.
We'll put it this way. It was probably every time we played at the old Lily Flanagan's.
Yeah.
It was. I would assume it would be. What?
I said it was a lot, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we played there a lot. So if it happened every time we did that, then yeah.
But I don't think that's my song of choice if this version doesn't happen. That's how much this version has impacted me, has made an impact on me.
Yeah.
So back then, you're so impressionable and everything, how many songs have we heard to this point? Like 22, something like that. And we're getting close to the end and you're sort of feeling that there's not too much left to go. So every moment you have to sort of take in as this, as this special thing that's, I don't know, never going to end, lasting memory, so to speak. And that's just what this one did. That's what it did. That takes us into the close of the first encore, Rearview Mirror. And we're going to have to play this here because I mentioned this before. Rearview Mirror was number 1 on my list of songs to hear on this night. I'm going to tell you about a little story about Rearview Mirror after we hear a little bit of it. So let's play that here. And then I'll story?
I don't. Probably.
So, when I was in college, I was a film major for a year, 2, 3 to 4 semesters, something like that. Then before I switched to journalism, and one of like the early video production class assignments was to create a music video. And I decided to create a music video to Rearview Mirror. Do you remember this at all, or?
I do. I don't really remember the details, but yeah, this is starting to sound familiar.
It was the most cheesy, just dopey thing that, like, generic story that you can think of. And I thought I was being really innovative by doing some of the editing techniques that I did. And then I showed it to an editor friend, and he looked at it and he was like, that's not really that interesting. And I'm like, yes, it is. Oh, it's so good. It looks like he's looking at a memory, man. And he was like, no, that's pretty stupid. And then I did something really stupid, and I put in a fucking jump cut. And I thought it was going to work, but it didn't work. It was part of the learning process, and that won't see the light of day. That's not, you might get an instructional video on how to dance to State of Love and Trust on Facebook, but I don't think you're going to see my music video for Rearview Mirror anytime soon. So
we'll start a petition to get it released.
Yeah, not happening. You're going to have to put in a lot of Patreon dollars for that one. Just saying. So yeah, I mean, like, this was absolutely my favorite song at this point. To get it in this pivotal point in a set list feels really special. And I love this. I love this version. I don't think it's my favorite version, but I think it's important because I just think back to how my connection with the song was and how much I loved it and how much I really, really adored Versus at the time. And, you know, I don't think it was the strongest performance of the song ever, but impact on my night was very, very significant.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to get Rearview Mirror. It's always going to be a showstopper, and it's even better when it's an encore ender. I love it as a first set ender, but encore ender is, I mean, especially when they're coming out for more, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
You know what I've realized lately though? It just happened to come on. I had something on. What did I have on shuffle the other day? I had what was my playlist? I forget. But the studio version of Rearview Mirror came on, and man, I don't know if it's because we've listened to so many live versions, but it was like. I was like, is this over yet? This is so slow.
It plods, yeah.
Yet at the same time, that was like my favorite song for
right?
a long time. Like the album version, I couldn't get enough of it, and now I'm like, Jesus Christ, I need a live version. Give me a live version, please.
Right. I'm kind of with you there. Not that I don't hate on the album version, but man, live is just a different beast.
Yeah,
and it's kind of the opposite. You know, we talk about sometimes we love the original even flow, where they'll play it live and it'll sound like it has the groove. The original State of Love and Trust, they'll play it live and it doesn't sound like they're going a mile a minute. There's a couple other songs that are like that. I was listening to a 93 show today and I was just kind of in my head like, you know, why go actually like sounds really good when it's groovy and like the drums are more involved, you know? And it's not that this version today sounds bad. It's just fast, and you know, it doesn't take a lot of time to pay to pay attention to it. I don't know. But
right.
Rearview Mirror is the opposite, where I want it a little faster than than how it originally was.
Not too fast, because that guitar part is very important to the song. It can get away from you a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Very solid performance of this. Good way to end a first set and a first encore, I should say, and get you into a couple more songs. This is encore 2 here. Ed thanks the crowd for everything they've given him. Appreciates the opportunity to play places like this with the energy they have, and it's unbelievable. We're going to fit a ton of stuff in before curfew, so we won't talk much longer, and I believe they do. And he just talks about the country and taking the country back, assisting the whole planet in survival. I'm just sort of reading here, on and on and on. And he starts out the second encore with No More, and this is another repeat from night 1. We've talked about it enough recently where we don't really have to go into it too much. The crowd is into it. I think they're digging it. They're singing along back with him. I don't really know the song at that point. It wouldn't be until after this and listening to it on the bootlegs that I would get to know it a little more. But I liked the message at the time. I feel like it was really, fitting the way that I was feeling, and sort of they had my back on, George Bush sucks and Obama's going to be the next president. Like, it felt like all that stuff, they had my back. So, it was fine. But I can see if I had gone to both nights and I had been, a continuous show goer, I can see kind of being like, really, this one again? Meh.
Yeah, well, especially because the night it was very good. This one was okay. No, that sounds bad. This one was good too. And this is an Eddie song that I really do enjoy, because I feel like every time you get a pretty good crowd reaction from it.
The crowd is good. I think even if you don't know the song, you kind of know where he's going with it, and
sure,
after,
right.
After a turn, like I know I didn't know the song going into it, but I was probably singing along, no more, So
I always saw this as his sort of version of like redemption song. This was kind of like his redemption song type.
Yeah. Thing. That's an interesting way to put it. I mean,
it's
the
just
song
got like that same sort of vibe to it, and
the song has enormous, and I've read a lot about the song. It's in the Thomas Young book. Thomas Young's War. It's written about him, and he wanted to perfect the lyrics so much that he went to Thomas Young, and he was just like, "Is this accurate? Is this accurate? Is this accurate?"
Right.
And there are some words in there, like at the end, "No more evangelizing," and like that. Those are specific things at the end that Thomas Young told him, like, these are things that I'm looking for. These are things that we're talking about. This is our message.
Right.
And that's all stuff that I think that's really cool that he did that. And their relationship is really cool. If that, I know I've been promoting the book every time that this has come up, and it's come up a lot recently. But there's a lot of, you get to really understand the relationship that Ed had with him, and it's really cool to read, because there's, besides Tom Morello, there's really no other rock star that comes up as much as Ed does. So
yeah,
it is pretty cool. But now it's time to sing one for the back. And Matt, guess what?
Do we have to?
Because you're leaving the show. We haven't done it. We haven't spent more than 2 minutes on
you're not going to... Oh, no, Randy, what are you doing?
1, 2, 3. Oh, where can my baby be? The Lord took her away from me. She's gone to hell, so I got to be good, so I can see my baby when I leave this world. We were out on a day in my daddy's car. We hadn't driven very far. There in the road, straight ahead, the car was stalled into a bed. Well, I couldn't stop, so I swerved to the right. I'll never forget the sound that night, the screaming tires, the busting glass, the painful scream that I heard last.
Oh, I knew I was going to do something dastardly today, and damn it, I did.
Look at
I'm
how that
proud of
worked
myself.
out.
Yeah, I think at the time it was just kind of like oh cool, Last Kiss, and yeah, it's not one of my favorites anymore, and I don't think it was a favorite back then, but I think I was somewhat appreciative to hear it. But listening to this version, man, this sounds like a Jimmy Buffett cover band did this at a beach bar somewhere.
It's funny.
Right? It's got like those keys in the background. Like, it makes it sound like you're on like just like a beach boardwalk somewhere. I don't know.
You're about like you're wasting away again in Margaritaville or something.
Yeah, but you're the car stalled and the engine was dead.
Except you die in Margaritaville.
Anything else you want to say about Last Kiss?
Not a goddamn thing.
Got it. Cool. Figured we'd get it in one last time to, just stick it in your craw.
Yeah.
I'm not like really crazy about the second encore. There's just, I don't know. It just flows weird.
I gotta be honest. Looking back on it, I really don't like it at all.
It's besides the one thing that's a big talking point. It's not really memorable. I can't remember that they played Why Go after Last Kiss at all. Like I can't. Why Go being such a prominent song off of 10 that I feel like I should remember that, but it's sort of just sort of forgotten. I remember Last Kiss and I remember what came after Why Go, but this was an odd choice.
Right.
It's not like the performance was bad, but it just doesn't stick out.
No, it's I don't know. Again, I'm just going to beat the dead horse, a little bit more before I go here. I just never know where to place this song, and I hate it when it's early, and this is in a second encore, but now it's falling victim to what's around it.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's in a place that would be good if the whole rest of the encore wasn't so weird. Because so it makes it stand out as like the best part of the entire encore too, but it's not complemented by anything. It's like it's the best part, like it because everything else just is mediocre. Besides like Alive, but Alive is nothing new, so. By default, it stands out, but it's not because
I think it's the opposite. I just don't think it. I think it doesn't stand out because it's what comes after is at least memorable.
No,
it's okay. Whether you like it or not,
it's memorable for being something I don't care for.
Sure, okay, but. Again, like I looked at it as, right at, we're getting a guitar legend on stage to play with the band. This is the first night I've ever seen them, and Ace Frehley from Kiss is on stage to play with them. I've never been a huge Kiss fan. Just not my thing. I'm not into that. Some people love Kiss and some people just really don't. And I have specific Kiss songs that I do like in the right setting in the right time. And the right time is not, every day at all. Black Diamond is one of those songs. But I guess my reaction was just kind of like, holy shit, okay, cool. But, it's not Jimmy Page. It's not Angus Young. It's not somebody of that nature that's like, a god. Would anybody call Ace Frehley a rock god?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would, and that's
okay. Would anybody
upsetting.
with the IQ of over 80 call Ace Frehley a rock god? Maybe a couple people. But anyway, it's at least memorable because here comes bumbling old 60-year-old Ace Frehley on stage looking like he just woke up after, an 8-hour nap. Probably took another nap after playing the song. That's how I always saw Lemmy of Motorhead, that anytime before he played, that somebody would just wake him up out of the nap and go, oh, okay, Ace of Spades, the Ace of Spades. All right, I'm going to go buy this thing. And then he would just get, that would be the only time they would wake him up before any performance. That would be Lemmy from Motorhead.
What you don't know is that Lemmy from Motorhead was actually dead the whole time. Yeah.
What was alive were his massive moles on his face.
Yeah. No, this is no memory to me. I don't give a shit about Kiss. I don't give a shit about Ace Frehley. I don't give a shit about him coming out to play a song. And honestly, it does nothing for me that Matt Cameron is singing lead vocals, because I don't fucking care at all about it. Not even a little bit to even give it the benefit of the doubt that it was a cool thing for the night, that, that it's like a rare thing. You have the guy coming out and he's playing a song and it's a cool cameo. None of that matters. I don't care. I hate Kiss. I hate the song. I don't care.
Yeah,
at all.
I think it's memorable. I think it's. I think a lot of people side with you, and I mean, the reaction to this was very lukewarm, to the point where McCready was like, "Come on, Ace Frehley, Kiss, come on."
That's because McCready's such like a nerd. Like he loves this stuff. Like it doesn't matter like who it is. He's gonna get so pumped up for it, but. I don't know. I could see Stone being like, guys, what the fuck are we doing?
Stone probably liked it. Stone probably stared at his amp the whole time.
Oh, God.
Put his hands in his shorts and...
Oh, wait, I forget. Was Stone was full beard on this one again, right?
He was, yeah. This was divorced dad Stone.
Yeah, it wasn't like the full thick, like get down with the thickness, but it was pretty full. And
he's starting to grow gray at this point.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's kind of like the pepper. What do you call it? Pepper.
Salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper. Yeah. Salt and pepper here.
But yeah, so that's my point about why go, is why it's just weird here. It's because everything around it. It's late in the set, which I prefer, but everything around it is making why go the best part about it by default. Because I don't really care for the Encore 2 that much. So that's basically what I was getting at.
Okay. That's fair. So I even though it's not very popular with the show and some of its fans, but we're going to play a little bit of Black Diamond because
we got to play it. I mean, it's you got to.
It's the first. It's not the first time they played Black Diamond, but it's the first with Ace Frehley. It's the last with Ace Frehley. So you just gotta. Yeah. As part
that's what the show's about here. You got to play that.
It is. So here it is for all you Kiss people out there. Because first of all, I don't want to hear it from the major Kiss fans. I don't want to hear it from them. So.
Yeah.
All right. Here's Black Diamond for you, and Matt singing a little bit.
Out on the street for a living, pictures only begun. You'll see the soul of madness. Got you under my love. Black
Diamond. So there have been cooler people that played on Madison Square Garden stage before with them. Sting, Ben Harper, the Buzzcocks.
Driven to Tears, man. That was awesome.
That was incredible. Cheap Trick doing Surrender. Woof.
Yep.
What a great moment that was.
Same night, right?
Same night.
Yeah, that was. Now that's what you go for right there.
Right. Like that. Those were massive moments.
Yeah.
I have good memories of this, and cool that a famous person in another band played a song of his with them, and nice for them. I'm glad McCready lived his lifelong dream. I'm happy for my friend. I will put it that way. But yeah, I do remember this. It's hard not to. So, All right, that gets us to the last two of the night, and Alive is starting to wind it down here. It's showing signs of the realization that this is turning from a, in the moment thing into a memory, and always have to mention how the best part of Alive is how you spent the last 2.5 hours singing your heart out, and you're getting one of their most prestigious songs to sing along and finish it up. And it just feels like it's your last dance, it's your major reward, and you're chanting your hey heys at the end of the song, and everybody's pumping their fists. It's you definitely truly cherish it from your first night, and even if you're going to see it 18 more times, it does not change the initial impact it has on you. And I knew what the last two songs were, or at least I knew Alive was definitely here, and I was really hoping for Ledbetter, but you had kind of an inkling what was coming, but it was still not just that it was coming, but it was exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, and of course we always say it's the bread and butter territory, so you could kind of separate bread and butter from the rest of it, which for me is not enhancing the Encore 2, unfortunately, because it's its own thing. The closer songs at a Pearl Jam show are almost its own entity and its own life force. Alive, Ledbetter, they have their own life force in a way. So yeah. That's why that "Why Go There" is really frustrating to me. I just can't. I'm just gonna. Yeah.
Crowd is really intense, and they're asking for more. And Ed goes on. He's saying, "Thank you. We thank you. Our kids thank you. Our parents thank you." And he intros the whole band and shouts out a 7-year-old in the crowd for being at his first show ever, and said he'd be doing drugs at no time. Yep. And then I love how he intros the song by saying, "Say goodnight, Gracie," and goes right into it.
Leave a message, but my brother was there.
In my eyes, there was no other way to end this night. It was absolutely 100% a Ledbetter show. I wouldn't wish for anybody else's debut to go differently. I know we had talked about it when Eddie was on the show, and he really, really, really wanted Ledbetter, and they teased it and then did Little Wing instead. And I said, wow, Little Wing, that's so good, but I'm in, veteran mode there. I'm not in, first timer. You have to, no matter how good Indifference is, and Indifference is always amazing to end a show with, you have to, at your first show, get Ledbetter to end the night. There's no other way to say goodnight at your first Pearl Jam show. That's just in my eyes. And even at the time, I thought that there shouldn't have been another song to close the night with. I thought Ledbetter every night, and no matter what. I obviously have changed my mind on that. I feel a lot different about that, but Ledbetter here was absolutely the best way to end this night.
I think that is... I think that's an opinion a lot of people would agree with, but it is...
It's not yours, I know.
It is not a have to, because that is very much opinion, because that is not not my opinion. I know Eddie felt the same way. I do not. I feel like a lot of people do feel that way, but I feel like there might be a lot of people out there that might think the way that me and some of the minority feel, and they say, no, I would rather not have Ledbetter. So you have to get it. I'll say this: you have to get it. You can't see Pearl Jam once and not get Ledbetter at all. Like, you should experience it once, but I don't know. I don't think it's a necessity, to be honest, but that's my opinion.
It's really tough because if they had more options to end the night with, then I'd say, okay, well, you could do this, you could do this, you can do this, but they don't give themselves enough options.
Well, it's the thing, they have
Ledbetter Indifference or maybe a random cover if they decide to end the night on a strong point.
They have all the options in the world, but they kind of chop themselves off at the knee there. Listen, you guys are known for doing crazy stuff and doing rare songs and mixing it up and having people come out. Even at your most formulaic moment, why don't you send some people for a loop there? But they don't. I mean, I get it. They're old men now, so I guess they, do what you know, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and they're not going to change it at this point. It's become such a major staple, and a lot of the things that we're going to talk about in our evolution episode about Ledbetter is just going to be how really unchanged in the set it's been in, I think, like 373 shows. It's been closed with 338 times, which is an amazing ratio there.
I just find it so hilarious that a song that I just do not care for is the one that they will never ever let go of.
It's just kind of
they can't do fucking Big Wave more than like 8 times. Fucking
well,
assholes.
Come on. I mean, Big Wave wasn't a radio single after being a B-side. Like,
Big Wave
Ledbetter
wasn't
is
anything.
No, and still kind of isn't anything. It's kind of
bullshit.
Just a deep cut that you really, really love.
It didn't have to be a deep cut, those freaking jerk-offs.
That's it. This is it.
Wait, did we mention the
Star Spangled Banner?
There was the little snippet at the end, right? There was
fantastic.
Okay, good.
Loved it.
No, dude, for some reason I totally blanked on that for a second. If I even, they did it, right? They did. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. They absolutely did. Yeah. And
wow,
I remember being
weird.
blown away by it because it's Mike. So
it's Mike. Yeah.
You want to rate this? This is going to be the last show you rate for a while. So
yeah.
Now make it good.
Yeah, it's an 8. It's a solid show. I don't think it was Eddie's best, and Encore 2 kind of sucks, but band was awesome. Set was great. I really liked the placement of pretty much everything, besides Encore 2.
Yeah. Wygo.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the thing. I do like where Wygo is. I don't like what's around it.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Okay.
Yeah, and the bread and butter's great. Alive, Ledbetter, Star Spangled. It's all great at the end, and I like the Off to the Races intro. 2 avocados back to back, 2 and 3. I mean, go closer. I'm gonna go with an 8. Yeah,
good stuff. Yeah,
a lot of good.
It's a good number.
Yeah, it's mostly fantastic.
I was trying to think this whole way through how I can do this with coming from a mind of this as a memory and coming from a mind of this as a bootleg, and I feel like it's one of those things where you know too much and you can't, it was really hard to distance this from fan and podcaster, and so I'm gonna kind of be both and say that my lasting memory of this was that it was an amazing way to introduce this band live to me.
Sure.
I think I made a list of my favorite live shows not too long ago, ones that I've been to out of the 20, and this makes top 5 every time. It's easily top 5, sometimes top 3, and there's some things going back now that I can kind of pick out things in the set list that I'm like, okay, maybe Why Go was a little weird, and maybe the things around it was a little weird, and maybe a little nitpick on these things, but like the memories that I have of it are so important and so just sticks with my heart and sticks with my mind, and I really, that's where all this comes from here. The release opener that was just absolutely incredible and mind-blowing to me, into closing with Go, into the Better Man version, into the Let's Go Rangers chants, into Rearview Mirror being played, into just a lot of other things. This didn't just feel like I was seeing a Pearl Jam show. This felt like I was seeing something bigger than that. It's the Garden, so it's huge as it is, and it really, they proved to me that anything can happen at the Garden. That you could bring up a former Ramon, that you can bring up a member of Kiss, that you can bring up a random trio of backup singers and make it all feel special and important. And I don't think that this show is good enough for 10 territory, so it doesn't get a 10. I think it gets a 9.5 though, because as far as first shows go, you don't get much better.
I thought for sure you were going to go 10.
No, if I thought it deserved a 10, I think I would give it a 10, but it doesn't deserve a 10, and maybe if it wasn't my first show or I didn't attend it, I think it would be in the 9 range. I think this is good enough for that. Yeah. But again, I can't speak without bias on this one. It's really, really difficult for me to do that. So
right.
All right. Well, I guess this is the point that we all got to say goodbye. I guess just, before we go.
No, not goodbye.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we say goodbye, but we say see you later. Okay, we say see you later.
I'm gonna be dipping into some of the evolution, the Patreon evolution shows, and maybe I'll be able to throw an edit here and there, and maybe record what I call the hot take, a nice quick review of the show for the ending or something like that.
It will be the new Easter egg.
Yeah, I'm gonna make myself known for sure. Every chance I get, I promise.
I would like you to still do the MSG shows. We're going to take a break from them this summer because this summer's all thrown into whack. So we're not going to get back into the next one until September. So would you still
do the
MSG ones?
I feel like I absolutely have to finish out the MSG ones for sure.
Perfect. Good. Because you're at least 2 of them. So
yeah, just not both nights of each one.
No,
that's where my night ones had to start getting cut.
Before we say see you later, just a reminder to you guys, Patreon is open, patreon.com/live on 4 legs, and we mentioned a couple times that the Evolution series is upon us. We are doing it very soon. It should be coming out, I don't know, after the 4th of July at some point. I'm depending on myself to edit them, so I don't do a lot during the day, and it'll fill up my time. So I'll enjoy myself by doing that. Obviously the social media pages, and if you can give us a good old rating on Apple Podcasts, shoot us a rating and a comment and let us know how you're liking the show. Also, live on 4legspodcast@gmail.com. Tell your stories and share with us what shows you want to hear in the future. And really, a lot of things are really open right now. Matt, I don't think I even told you this, but the whole festival idea that we were supposed to do this summer is getting nixed.
You're not going for it?
No, it's just with things. I just kind of had to make a change. There will be a Pink Pop, and that's going to be next week.
Of course.
And there will be another festival show, and that'll be near the end of July, and that'll have a guest on it. All of these shows will have a new co-host, maybe even potential replacement co-host involved. That, we'll see how everything gels, and we'll see what happens. I'm just kind of giving the reins to them. Whatever they want to feel comfortable with covering, that we'll do. And next week we're going to have kind of, I don't know if it's a battle of potential co-hosts, but these are two pretty high on my list guys to fill your shoes. Buckley and Bradley are going to both join the show, and I won't seem like it's competition, because that's not fair, because I don't think there should be any competition, but man, it's wide open.
That
It is wide open.
That episode is going to be 9 hours long.
But the show is only 45 minutes to an hour.
Exactly.
It can't be possible. That's got to be a short one. It's a holiday week, and this one's already 3.5 hours long.
Can you believe that I have weddings on the 3rd and the 4th?
I believe everything right now. I believe anything that's fucking happening in your life is happening.
People are just crazy. Like, they're like, yeah, let's get married. What? Why? I have a lot of Thursdays this year too. Thursdays have gotten popular.
It's probably cheap.
You know what they do? They take advantage of holiday weekends.
Yeah.
Because yes, it is cheaper, yet it's everyone's around and available, and I mean it's smart. I got to give it to them. It's smart, and it adds another day of work on for me, which isn't bad. But I just have to get used. I have to remember it's Thursday. I have a wedding.
Right.
I can't forget. But yeah.
Yeah, but that's just another reason why we part ways with you a little bit for, and I don't think you'll come back full time when you come back, but your presence will be felt.
Oh yeah. I want you guys to feel me.
Cradling
like angels.
Like an angel cradling.
Like an angel singing release as it cradles you.
I like how that put a little bookend on this, but really, this was, again, repeated from earlier, but this was just a stupid little idea that the two of us had after putting together a fantasy league, and we didn't even know what went into doing a podcast. If you heard the raw version of the first episode that we did, we stopped about 500 times. We had to re-record the intro. It was a nightmare. It was a mess, but we figured it out. Somehow we figured it out. We've been doing this. Somehow you guys keep listening, because I see the numbers and I see that you guys are still listening, so we thank you for that. But I mean, these are long episodes, as you can see. It takes a lot of work to do this, and for all those shows that Matt, you edited, we can't ever thank you enough, and we're never going to replace that hard work. As much as I can do, I can do my part, but you put in a ton of effort and a ton of work and time into stuff that you almost didn't have any time for. So really, honestly, I love you and thank you.
Oh, no problem. You'll get the swing of it. It's not too bad.
I know. I'm just saying,
I thought the last episode was great. Yeah.
I'm trying, but again, you can't what I'm trying to say is that you put in so much of your hard work and your effort into doing it that, you know, as much as I can do, like that effort can only be replicated, not duplicated. I don't know how to even say that. It's just, you did a whole hell of a lot to put us on the map, to get us out there, and we can't, you know, you're my best friend, and I'm just happy that we were able to accomplish this. That I ever had. Na, 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 na. Any, you know, I don't want to say final words because they won't be final words, but any parting words that you'd like to say to our faithful listeners here?
Thank you for the continued support, and I will, of course, I'll see you guys soon.
With that,
I got to do the next MSG because we were there at those.
Oh,
two.
yeah.
So 2010, I got to be on.
Yeah, you'll be on those for sure, and I think your
because
schedule will.
Yeah, I've been saving my pictures that I have from the show from like my sixth row or whatever it was. I got them on my phone. I'm ready to share. So
do you really?
Oh yeah, I found them. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I found them on my Facebook. They were like deep in a folder. I got them. Yeah.
I only remember that you took like this random picture of me outside of the
You're
arena.
smiling. Yeah, you look like a little baby. You look like a baby.
Yeah.
You're like clean shaven. Yeah. Maybe you had you might have a little goatee. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow.
That's hilarious.
Fuck me and fuck time.
Yeah. Right. Oh God.
All right. Well, with that being said, this is the end. We're here. Matt's here, but not for much longer. And although we may be parting ways, Matt, we miss you already, and we miss you always.
Oh man, that actually really fit there. Jeez.
Well, I mean, just thank you for being a friend. Da 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 da. Again, yeah. This has been awesome to share this stage. And if you and your best friend ever come up with an idea so crazy that it might work, do it. Because you just never know what would fucking happen. Just fucking try it.
Just gotta try anything. Try everything.
Just do it.
Don't hold back. Just
don't murder somebody. Don't try that.
Use discretion and common sense.
Yeah, just whatever you do that's legal and clean, just do it, and enjoy yourselves. So until next week, where we can figure out who the next co-host of this show will be, we don't say goodbye. We say see you later.
See you later.